Welcome to the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast brought to you by ProudMouth. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. Being your own loud is not new to marketing, but the mindset, strategies, and resources to help you get there are evolving faster than this industry is keeping up. It is time to find a new perspective on what works why and how to move your business forward. Listen as I interview guests to help you learn from them how to be your own loud. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. Today, we are talking to Michelle Matus, and she's the product marketing leader at Meister. Now, we're going to dive into what all of that is, but many of you do know that we religiously talk about one of their products. It's called MindMeister. It's something that Kirk and I use in meetings for organizing our podcast, for marketing, material creation, fleshing out thoughts, all of that sort of stuff. And Michelle is an expert on the product, but she's also like this really neat person. I want to take the first part of the show to get to know her a little bit. And then we're going to talk about how she sees other people using the product, not just financial services professionals, or maybe not just for marketing. So Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Matt. Really glad to be here.
Now, you have a very interesting trajectory, and I want to talk about that a little bit because you started out in public radio, and now you're working for a global international software company. What happened there?
Oh my gosh. Well, I did first start out cooking in a kitchen after college. So my trajectory is a little more of a nonlinear path, let's say, for sure. But yes, I went back to school after my undergrad for a master's in journalism, which led me to public radio. So I worked for a local public radio station, NPR affiliate station in Reno, Nevada for several years, and kind of built up podcasting there. I have done some professional and some personal podcasting and led a lot of the digital initiatives and digital storytelling for KUNR, I'll give the plug, for the local public radio station in Reno. And then after I came to live in Vienna, Austria, where Meister is located, as you said, we're a global technology company and we make software for 30 plus million people, which is really, really cool. And it was really kind of a whim that I ended up here. My partner is a climate researcher and got a position and an offer in Austria. And we kind of weighed the pros and cons. I actually reached out to Meister prior to coming and solidified a job position, and we moved over. I made the shift from journalism and storytelling and podcasting to marketing and really understanding a different side of communications, as it were.
Well, let's talk about the different side of communications, because that's another thing that you're quite fascinated in. How are you globally marketing various suite of softwares? How are you getting the right people's attention?
That is such a hard question. And it's something that we change all the time. So it also really depends on what market you're looking at. As you said, MindMeister is a global company. We have users all over the world, and I can't say 190 countries, but pretty darn close. We actually, we have to tailor our marketing messaging, localize our branding, localize even our software in-app to 12 different languages. So we are not only just copy pasting and translating things for localization, but we're actually doing it in app as well. We really, really care about our global users and trying to organize that, trying to change all of the messaging. So our main target markets are in the US and then in Germany and the DACH region. And so we really try to kind of identify exactly what makes those users in those specific geographical locations tick. And for us, for example, in Europe, being really reliable, having longevity in the market, having security as a central focus is incredibly important. So we try to tailor our messaging to that. We really lean into more steadfast, sturdy. I mean, if you think German, you're thinking German engineering has that longevity to it. Whereas we see in our American market and North American market is a little bit more more early adopters, people really excited about new and different and upcoming things, and a little bit less concerned maybe about like the longevity in the market or the security focus, though it's becoming a little bit more important, which I think is a good thing. We're really kind of trying to tailor those messages to those different audiences, and trying to organize all of that is a little bit crazy. So
I'm sure. Well, what are you finding is working? So you hone your messaging depending on your market, because we talk about that all the time on the show, that you have different markets. We would actually specify that as very specific focused niches or niches, right? How are you getting that message in front of them? What do you see is working, and how are you getting the right people's attention?
Yeah, we do so many different things. Everything from prior to 2020, doing in-person events and tabling events and really getting in front of the consumer in real life. Of course, because we're a software and our core users are downloading us or signing up on a web browser. That's really, digital marketing is incredibly important to us. So we really try to kind of cover everything as much as possible. So we have a really strong performance marketing game with our performance ads and different types of things that we're doing on social media, paid and organic. We're also doing a lot of longer form SEO content for our blog, which is the Focus blog, where we focus on thought leadership and looking at creativity and productivity as a way to really amplify the work that you're doing. We're also doing webinars. We're partnering. We have this wonderful partner program where we have global partners that are really amplifying the message of Meister, MindMeister, Meister Task, and Meister Note, and helping to get the tool in front of people and really showing them how it works. And so we really try to go broad and try to really understand who our target market is, which we really try to look at small teams and people that are looking to up their game and kind of digitalize the way that they're working. It's not these people that are really digitally savvy and are kind of constantly trying all of the new and latest trends, but really people that are kind of mom and pop shops that are trying to really digitalize the way that they're actually working, turning checklists and paper mind maps into something that's digital that can actually be shareable. Those are really we try to meet people where they're at. And that means that we're meeting them on social media. We're meeting them when they're in the search browser. We're also trying to get in front of them with webinars, and then looking to partner with local people who they trust to give them good recommendations really about how they would approach productivity, creativity, and really amping up their game.
All right. Before we dive into MindMeister specifically, you just rattle off 2 other products. And full disclosure here, I'm not using these, but I'm definitely going to be testing them as soon as we get off of this podcast, because I love how I feel and how MindMeister specifically helps me think. And if something can do that, I'm really interested in what those are. So you said Note, and what was the other one?
Yeah, so we have Meister Task and Meister Note. So MindMeister, as you said, it's really our hallmark tool. So it's a mind mapping tool that helps you brainstorm and ideate and generate cool ideas and really then organize your thoughts around those ideas. So if you think about brainstorming, you're thinking about throwing lots of ideas on a whiteboard or a canvas or a piece of paper. We're turning that into a digital form. So you can do it a web-based form. You can do it anywhere on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. And then what do you do with all of those ideas? So we created this tool in 2007, had a lot of success with it. And then the next logical step was, hey, all of these ideas are great. And we're starting to plan projects and we're starting to plan things, but we want a way to actually turn those plans into action. And that's kind of where Meister Task came in. MindMeister is this great place to start things. And then we view Meister Task as this great place to then carry over those ideas that you have and turn them into tasks and projects. What we have in MindMeister is an integration with Meister Task. So it's a task management solution that you can turn any topic that you make in your mind map into a task in Meister Task. So you can assign it to somebody, you can add a due date, you can add different tags, you can really make all of the details that you want in your task and actually get things done. So the way that it works is you got your ideas, you get the start of a really great, cool project, and then you turn all of those into an actual plan and get it done. So that was where Meister Task came from. And we've found a ton of success with that because, of course, people on a daily basis are trying to figure out a way to change their Post-it notes on their computer or their checklist items or their Mac notes where they have a lot of to-dos and organize it into one place. It's a Kanban style format. So really kind of looking at like moving things from different columns from to do to doing to done, and really creating this visual streamlined process for task management. So we kind of honed the idea of visual creativity, and then we moved that in our area of expertise, which is simplicity and user interface, and move that into a task management solution to make it more beautiful and easy to use. And then just last year, we did a private beta, and now we actually released in September Meister Note, which is an online documentation tool. So this is a kind of like Notion or Evernote. It's something similar to that. So basically, we found that internally, we really needed a way to create beautiful technical specs, beautiful documents to share, process documents, things like that, where we were saying, we have all of this information and we really need to find a way to put it all together and make it accessible for people. So we created Meister Note, which helps to create knowledge bases. It helps to give online documentation in a beautiful way that integrates, and you can embed your mind maps into notes. You can embed your tasks into notes. So you can actually really get a cool overview. And it's sort of bridging the gap between what people fear, which is visual creativity, and kind of turning that into a linear format as well. So we're serving kind of both sides of the brain, as it were, and really carrying your ideas through to project completion, and then ultimately to documentation and presentations.
I think that's one of the you just said something that is, I hadn't even thought of this, but the cool thing about MindMeister that we have noticed, Kirk and I have noticed in using it, is his brain works really differently than mine. I'm the throw everything onto a piece of paper, and then Kirk then organizes it because it is such an easy user interface, and then allows us to then focus right on one of those points that he organized to continue to expand on those thoughts. And for you who are financial services professionals who are listening to, think about that. So many times you go to conferences and you have all of these ideas, and then they come back and they die on the vine. And one of the main reasons is there is no organization, or you really haven't thought it through. And I think, Michelle, that's one of the great things about MindMeister specifically, is it allows you in an easy, if you're right brain, left brain, no brain, middle brain, don't care, it allows you to see things in a different way. How did that come up? Who had the epiphany on this? I mean, this just seems so, I've used other mind mapping tools in the past, but for some reason, this is just that much easier. There was a question in there, by the way. I just don't remember where it was. All right, good. Go ahead.
Who created mind mapping? Yeah. Well, I think that's a contentious thing, actually, in the mind mapping community. But Tony Buzan really popularized it in the 1970s and has a ton of books out about it, really talking about like the benefits of kind of a mind map. The idea of it is really to, as you said, brains think differently, but it's structured in a way spatially and radially that your brain, like kind of, the idea is that it's in a way that your brain really understands. As much as we're sort of trained to be linear thinkers, I think that there's a lot of us that are very much more spatial, or have all of these ideas that are kind of thrown out there, and then mind mapping kind of brings it to the center. So you have the central idea in the middle. It could be a keyword, it could be a topic. If you're doing a brainstorming, something like that, really the thing you want to focus on. And then you're just, like you said, throwing different ideas out there, trying to then draw connections between them. Because I think if you're, jotting these notes down, like if you're at a conference or in a class or taking notes for a client or something like that, like if you're doing it in a linear fashion, I don't know if you're like me, but then the margins of my notes start to get really convoluted, and I'm drawing links up to a previous point because I didn't have enough room on the paper, or it gets really, really messy. And I think that's, for me at least, the benefit of the mind map is that you can do that anywhere. And then you're really easy to drag and drop and move different ideas together and clump them into idea clumps, and be able to do that in a way that's cleaner and clearer and that your mind actually processes. I think people have been doing mind mapping for a long time, previous to the 1970s and previous to when books have been written about it, because it is just a way for you, I think naturally, if you're sketching something out, you start to like put them into little clumps, and then you start to draw lines to connect your ideas. And I think it's doing a software like MindMeister or another mind mapping software, you're able to do that more clearly. And you don't have that fear of the blank page in some ways. Like
Yes.
A piece of paper and a pen feels very permanent, and something on a web application, like you can delete it and nobody has to see it, and you don't have to like burn the evidence. It's right there and you can do whatever you want with it. And I think that kind of lowers the barrier to entry for people who may feel like they're less creative or feel like they're more linear thinkers. That's kind of, I mean, for me personally, I feel like I'm not creative, but I'm able to do a mind mapping and use it in a really, really creative way.
Well, there's a lot there. So I'm going to unpack just a little bit of what you were saying there. For those of you, when you're on that yellow pad, because the majority of our clients who are listeners, they still use a yellow pad. But a lot of you aren't connecting the thoughts. And that's what I think is such a huge difference in how mind mapping organizes your train of thought. A lot of times you're just writing, and then you don't realize that this point down here actually was a cause of this point up here. And you as financial services professionals need to be making those connections. And can you imagine if you had a tool that just made that even easier? If you're sitting down with a client and you're going through your discovery, starting with that, I want to retire as that hub that Michelle was just talking about, and then going to values, trip, educate, all of the different things that you all want, and then continuing to expand on those topics, allowing your client to focus just on that thing. Because when you bring up the word retirement, it's overwhelming. How do we take it and make it less overwhelming? And I think MindMeister is a great tool for that. How are you seeing people use this? So we have a very limited focus on this, Michelle. I mean, we work in financial services. Kirk and I are a marketing company to financial services. We are marketing to financial advisors. You have 30 million people using this. How are other people using it? What other disciplines are using that? Let's just talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you have? Because honestly, there's so many different uses for MindMeister and for mind mapping, because just like you said, like it's really like at the core of what mind mapping is intended to do. And what we try to do at MindMeister is really help people turn complex ideas into simple, digestible information. And I think that's across the board, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what position you hold, that's incredibly helpful, whether it's a student trying to understand Chemistry 101 or a financial advisor trying to help explain to their client exactly how they will get to the retirement that they want and need. Some of the ways that we see it is, of course, in the creative industry. Lots of marketers use mind maps to, plan out their content for their blog posts or organize their content for social media, or sit in, when you're doing a podcast, actually creating a script and an outline of questions that you're asking and literally walking through those steps and walking your co-host through questions. There's so many different ways that you can actually use it in practice, but then also really presenting information as well. So I think there are so many different uses that I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface. But what I think is actually cool, just to play off of what you were talking about with explaining to a client about retirement, is like we have this template that's called the life plan, and people can actually visualize what their life would look like, what they want their retirement life to look like. Do they want to live in a tiny home or a mansion? Do they want to have 5 vacations a year or live on a boat? You could actually have your client perhaps visualize exactly what their retirement looks like. And then you can help to tell the story about their money, tell the story about how they get to their retirement with a mind map. So even if you're organizing your own thoughts as a client, as a financial advisor, as a consultant, as a marketer, disseminating that information, I think, is really the key area that specifically that MindMeister does really well, because you can share the map, you can send a link to your client, you could send a link to a presentation for it, and they can actually go through it themselves and look at it. And it's a collaborative space. So it's not something where you're doing it by yourself and then trying to explain something. It really is bringing that visual and then that explanation and really helping to tell the story and tie it all up together. So for me personally, who has aspirations of retiring one day, need that help to really understand how to do that. I think that that could be a fantastic way to really connect the dots, like I said, with the person who you're trying to explain why it's important and how to get there, and really connect those dots for them.
On the show recently, we had a gentleman, Dennis Mosley Williams, who many of you know. He is a client experience expert. And then we actually had a couple of other client experience experts. And we're talking about an entirely different client experience here. All of you are trying to find a way to separate yourself from the advisor down the street. How awesome is it if you could have a collaborative document? Because Kirk and I do this. Kirk is outside of Toronto. I'm in Michigan. We're working on these maps in real time together. Even while we're in a podcast, he might move something, change something. It is so fluid and so much easier for us to communicate using this tool. Can you imagine doing that with your clients? Now, Michelle, you also said something about using this to create your marketing plan. How have you seen that done before? I mean, how would you use a mind map to create like a monthly marketing content calendar?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm doing this all the time. We just had a huge rewrite and launch for MindMeister. So we did this, it's been around since 2007, and it's gotten a major facelift. So we tried to go in, and it's been a multi-year process to really create this fantastic new user experience that people will hopefully love and use. As part of that, I had to create all of these materials for a launch plan, to everything from how we're doing our public relations, to the social media we're putting out, to the blog posts we're putting out, the email marketing, all of that stuff. And so for me, what it started out as was, I have right at the center, I had the topic of the launch right in the middle. And then I just started throwing ideas in there. Okay, we're going to need email marketing. We're going to need social media. We're going to need blogs. We're going to need all of these different things. And then I go into these like bigger topics that I know that we're going to need. And then I start a little mini brainstorm for each of those ones in particular. For a monthly blog schedule or a monthly social media calendar, what I tend to do is I create my own templates. So for social media, for example, I have, Monday through Friday, I have a 5-day calendar. And if you do it another way, it's completely flexible and up to you. If you're posting 7 days a week, more power to you. That's a lot of work, but you're creating this visual actual calendar. And then what I do is, because you can also drag and drop, is you can put your ideas there. If you have, on Mondays, you give money talk Monday, for example, you actually put in different ideas for posts that you have there. And then you can kind of go in and you can fill it in for every single day of the week. And then if you don't end up using that content, or you actually want to then brainstorm more for that specific topic, you can actually create another mind map, or that's the infinite canvas idea is really helpful there, because you can expand on all of those small ideas that you have. Maybe you're sharing it on social media, you see it gets a lot of traction, and then you turn that into a blog post or an email marketing campaign or something like that. So what I tend to do is think really expansive and throw all of my ideas out there for a marketing plan or a marketing campaign. And then I start to hone in on the very specific areas that I know that I'll need. Of course, there are plenty of tools out there you would schedule your content maybe on Buffer or Hootsuite or something like that. But with MindMeister, what I love is that I can do that. I have basically the overview, and then I can expand on all of those things. I can make notes to myself, try this, interact with this, ask this question on LinkedIn, and then really organize it on a weekly basis there.
You sparked something else there. I wasn't planning on going in this direction, but so an advisor comes back from a meeting, because they're starting to happen again. Well, at least seems we're heading in that direction. You've got 50 ideas that you got from the conference, and you want to come back. And if you sit down with your team, and you say, okay, here are the 50 ideas. So all of a sudden we've got this map with all of these different points. Let's look at this one. And I can't stress this enough, everybody. The coolest thing for how my brain works is it forces me to focus. Like I cannot pay attention to. You can expand and contract the little tentacles. What do you call those? What do you call?
They're called branches.
Branches. There you go. Okay. All right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So taking the branches and you can expand and contract them so that you don't focus on that right now, that you can bring your focus on something else. And I know you've had this issue with your marketing departments, even your HR projects, what Michelle was just talking about. Could you imagine if you're working on a project, you as the financial services professional, then hand off this mind map to the person who's going to be implementing the project, and they can add their notes and their tasks using these other tools that Meister Labs has or Meister has. And all of a sudden, kerblanky, they've got a plan, which is what all of you are often hearing from your team is, you come back with all of these ideas and we have no actionable items. Using a tool like this helps you create those actionable items in a collaborative environment, which means that you're going to have a higher implementation quotient, which is where most of you fall down. And two, you're going to feel way more organized. All right. Wow, man, I'm like totally a commercial for you. We don't normally do that, Michelle. And this has just been such a huge game changer for us. I mean, we use this across all of our departments. We probably should use it even more, because I was just thinking, so Jessica Brown, who's our marketing coordinator here, she's writing a marketing plan, and it is right now, it's a linear marketing plan. I mean, she's got spreadsheets. She's super amazing. She's got spreadsheets and tables and all of that stuff. And I'm just thinking, and she's going to kill me for saying this, but how great would it have been if she would have created this in a mind map where we could have expanded and contracted, each of these branches, and all of us could have added notes and all of that in a little bit different way instead of it being a linear document. Very few of us really live in linear thinking. It might be concentric lineal circles. That's not even a right geometric.
That's totally a thing.
Yeah, I just made that. I make stuff up on this show all the time. Let's talk about that next level of integration, though. So we've got the mind map, and now you've got these other two products. Do those other two products have like Zapiers, or do they work with any other contact management systems, project management tools? Do they integrate with email? Help me understand the bigger picture here.
Yeah, so we have for Meister Task specifically, which is kind of the tool that people use on a daily basis to get things done. We have integrations with Zapier that you can do. We've been named by them as one of the top task management tools and mind mapping tools, which is really cool. So we're super big fans of Zapier, and I think that's part of the thing is like you need a tool that actually integrates right with the work stack, the tech stack that you actually use. And what's also interesting is that email is the bane of my existence. If my inbox could just go away, I would be very happy. And I know I'm not alone in that one, but you can actually set up an email to send your email directly to Meister Task to create a task from that email. So instead of actually dealing with something, a lot of times if you're like me, you're emailing yourself in the middle of the night when something pops into your head to say, oh, I have to do that. And you can actually just email it directly to your project board to create a task. And so without any sort of worry or concern at 3 a.m. that you can go back to sleep because you're not going to forget the thing that you need to do at 8 a.m. You can actually email it to yourself directly into your project board. You're able to then get things done quicker. So we strongly believe that your tools need to work with the person. And that's why really the user is at the core of everything that we do. That's why there are plenty of mind mapping tools, task management tools, and online documentation tools out there that have loads of features. And really, for us, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing for us is actually creating a tool that has all of the features that you need to get your work done, that doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that are very enticing. And like I said at the very beginning, Americans and people in the US are really excited about brand new and what's new, fancy, and different. But sometimes that doesn't actually help. It ends up being one of the problems of productivity is that you're constantly learning how to do something differently or new, whereas we try to focus on making something that's really, really easy to use, that you don't have to have like this long ramp up period to learn and understand how it actually works, to get it into implementation and start saving time, start being more creative, start actually turning your ideas into projects.
I am sure that there are going to be people listening to this who are like, okay, just stop talking about I'm in. What is the best way for them to find out more about all three of these products, especially MindMeister?
Yeah, so you can go to mindmeister.com and check out. It's super easy to sign up. We're a freemium tool. There's absolutely no barrier to entry. You just basically sign up. You can sign up with your Google account, and you can be mind mapping within a few seconds. The same thing with it's meistertask.com or meisternote.com. Pretty straightforward to use. All of the tools are free to try and free forever, really. If you want to have more business functionality, of course, we have those options. There really is no barrier to entry to test it out and see if it works for you. That's the most important thing for us. Is people love our tools. People want to use our tools because they're super fun and they actually work. Win-win there, in my opinion. So yeah, check out mindmeister.com, and we're on all of the social media channels with just our handle, MindMeister, Meistertask, and Meisternote.
And you're all going to upgrade really quickly. I just want to say that I can't believe this was probably the quickest to purchase I ever did, because once I felt what I needed to feel, I was like, I'm in, right? I'm just going to use this. This is the system that I want. All of you can have a great time using it. And when Michelle says it's fun, you might be like, oh, I don't really get that. No, really. Once you have that feeling that I believe that you get, that I just personalize this by using MindMeister. When I get done feeling like I have exhausted my thoughts on a specific topic, when's the last time you did that for yourself? I mean, that's like such a wonderful feeling of completion and release. And it's just such a great thing. And this is the tool that allows, I think, our executive team specifically to really get to the point, because it's so easy for us to just dance around it. So Michelle, thank you so much for taking time. I know that you're crazy busy. You're in Austria. Oh my God. What time is it there?
It is evening time here.
Okay.
It's 4:45.
All right.
Day 3 of lockdown, part 4.
Yeah. I heard that. It was interesting because when I was reading the news and I was like, I know somebody in Austria. Oh my God, I'm interviewing her today. So yeah. So thank you for joining us across the pond there and spending some time with our team today. I really appreciate it. And please, everybody, we'll make sure that we have links in the show notes, but check this out. This is a game changer. It has been for us, can help you market more efficiently with much more organization and actually communicate really complex ideas in a way that is simple and understandable, visually appealing, and easy to use. So for everybody at Meister, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon. Thanks for listening to the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast, brought to you by ProudMouth. If you want to learn more about how you can be your own loud, visit our website, read our blog posts, attend our educational webinars, and sign up for our new Influence Accelerator Academy, where you too can learn how to truly be an influencer in your space. Have a wonderful day.